Hello, guys and gals, and welcome to, well, what is this exactly? Well, it's finally been a couple days into ladder, and we have a more generalized idea of how you can obtain the Terror Zone only Sunder charms. And I've gotten probably way more than I ever should get. At the beginning of, the start of ladder, like, we didn't really know exactly, like, how common they would be, how to obtain them. Like, do we need a certain amount of magic find? There was a bug that happened. There was a bunch of things, and I'd like to give like a little bit of a recap on kind of what happened with the Sunder charms, what their current state of play is, so to speak, and like how you can obtain one yourself if you're looking to get one. Now, the first thing that you need to know is how do you create a terror zone? Well, it's pretty straightforward. There's really not a whole lot to it. You just check this little box right here that says terrorized. Once you check this box, when you create a game, you will make a terrorized zone. Now, it is important to note that you cannot check the box unless you kill Bale in that particular difficulty. So, for instance, if you want to make terror zones in normal, you have to kill normal Bale. If you want to make terror zones in nightmare, you have to kill nightmare Bale. And if you want to make terror zones in hell, you need to kill hell Bale. Otherwise, you will not be able to create terror zone games. Now, as far as I understand it, though, you will still be able to participate in terror zone games. The same way that, someone can join the cow level, that hasn't killed normal Bale. But if someone who has killed normal Bale creates the game, and then you join their game, you can potentially make it that way. Now, when you join a game with the terrorized moniker added to it, you will have the ability to participate into terror zone zones. The terror zone zones are basically set up every hour. So it's a random thing. It goes between a huge list of zones. And to have to look at a full list of zones, they do have those listed in the patch notes, and I might as well bring those up real quick. So if you look up the D2R patch notes for 2.5, it is listed in the patch notes, and I could bring that list right up here on the camera here. Alright, so here's the current list of zones that are capable of being rolled, which is Bloodmoor, Den of Evil, Cold Plains Cave, Burial Grounds, Crypt, Mausoleum, Stony Field, Dark Wood, Forgotten Tower, Jail, Cathedral, Catacombs, Pit, Tristram, and of course, Cow Level. It is important to note that the Cow Level does not say the Cow Level. It does not say Moo Moo Farms because the Cow Level doesn't exist. So when the Cow Level happens, it just simply says Unexpected Error QQA97 because they're trying to play into the joke that the Cow Level doesn't exist. We have Act 2 Sewers, which is actually pretty good, by the way. In fact, you know what? Let me weigh in on these real quick while I'm going over these. Bloodmoor, Den of Evil sucks. Cold Plain, the Cave. I mean, the Cave is actually pretty decent. It's pretty much like another pit. So if you magic find the pit on a regular basis, it's not bad. Cold Plain's not really the greatest. The density's kind of crap, and all the monsters are like just spread all over the place. Burial Grounds, the Crypt, and Mausoleum are actually pretty good. Not bad at all. Kind of like farming the Countess Tower. Stony Field, not really that great, although there are a decent number of elites there if you want to teleport around and kill them. Darkwood's a little bit more dense than Stony Field, and you do have Treehead Woodfist there, but it's also pretty spread out. The Forgotten Tower's pretty good for Terror Zone. You just roll your way through the entire 5 levels and kill the Countess, and rinse repeat. Jail's a little sparse on monsters. It does have a lot of good ghosts in it, though, so a good place for farming runes. Cathedral and Catacombs, we ran that quite a bit. It's decent. It's not like the most amazing thing in the world, but it's decent. The Pit has always been a good place to farm, and when it's level 99, it's an even better place to farm. Tristram is very small, and there are some methods that you can use to spawn more elites there, but it's still just a very small zone. You clear it out super duper quick. And if you use the method, which is basically where you teleport around the outside edges in a counterclockwise fashion, you can somehow get more elites to spawn than otherwise normal, but other than that, like, there's really not a lot to it. Cow level's amazing. Everybody usually stops what they're doing and drops everything and does the cow level whenever it hits. Sewers, I actually really like. So Act 2 Loot Go Lane Sewers is really amazing. Very nice monster density, very tightly packed. You can usually kill them extremely easily. Just in general was a really good EXP run, in my opinion. Definitely don't sleep on Sewers Act 2. Rocky Waste and Stony Tomb. Rocky Waste is kind of crappy, except for when there's beetles. When there's beetles, it's a nice little place to farm. Stony Tomb is decent. It's actually not bad at all. It's a little small, but it's not bad. Dry Hills and Halls of the Dead, also the same kind of thing going on here. Halls of the Dead is good. Dry Hills is kind of meh. Far Oasis is interesting because it has a lot of bugs in it and beetles. It's not the greatest EXP spot, but definitely a nice one to farm. Lost City, Valley of Snakes, Claw Viper Temple, kind of the same thing going on here. Claw Viper Temple's decent. There's a lot of cold immunes in there, though, so be careful with that. Arcane Sanctuary is pretty decent for EXP, but because there's a lot of monsters, and there's 4 different ways, obviously. There are fire immunes, cold immunes, and physical immunes in there, though, so if you can't deal with all of the immunities in there, it might be a little bit of an issue. It's also a little bit of a pain in the butt for groups, because you constantly have to pass each other on the platform, and people don't know how to stand. The platform in Arcane Sanctuary, by the way, is a 2-person platform. You can walk side by side in Arcane Sanctuary, but those of you who love to stand in the middle of the platform... Chalrash's Tombs is actually a pretty good EXP. There's a lot of tombs, too, so you can just bop tomb to tomb to tomb. And tons and tons of monsters in there, of course. Spider Forest is a little crappy. I actually don't like the Act 3 forest zones because they just... You never know when you've moved on to the next zone or not. You constantly have to pay attention because they weave in and out of each other. And half the time when it's Spider Forest, you'll end up in Great Marsh or Flayer Jungle. And half the time when it's Flayer Jungle, you'll end up in Spider Cavern or frickin'... It doesn't even make any sense. Like, they just weave in and out of each other. And before you know it, you're in the wrong one, and you don't even know you're in the wrong one. They need to add some kind of like sound effect when you're leaving the Terror Zone, so you know you're leaving the Terror Zone. Like, specifically for these stupid Spider Forest and Flayer Jungle. Kuras Bazaar is decent, but it's really big and spread out. The 2 temples, however, are really nice, condensed, lots of elites, very quick. You know, you could just simply do the 2 temples. Kuras Sewers is garbage. It's just way too spread out. There's too many pathways. There's not enough monsters. The density's crap. I don't know. Kuras Sewers is terrible. Travancore is terrible too, in my opinion. The only thing good about Travancore is killing the council. There's not enough monsters in Travancore, and I don't know why they did just Travancore. They could have like included the Kuras Causeway and the 2 little temples that are in the causeway at the very least, but they just did Travancore. It's not the greatest. Durance of Hate is generally avoided because of the dolls, but people do like to farm Mephisto. I think what we were doing is we were just teleporting to level 3, and then we would clear the entire level 3 and then rinse repeat. Outer Steppes is decent. It's not bad at all. Plains of Despair, however, is filled with gloams, and more often than not, at this stage, everybody has bad lightning resistances, so nobody wants to go there. River of Flame, City of Damned is actually not a bad one. Those are decent. Chaos Sanctuary, of course, is a hot commodity. Whenever that one pops up, everybody stops what they're doing and runs Chaos when it's in the level 99. Bloody Foothills and Frigid Highlands are pretty much garbage. Nobody wants to do either one of them because they're just way too spread out and they're hard to farm. Ever since they shortened the EXP radius to basically 3 screens, you can't spread out and kill things like you used to in the old days. You can, however, farm the super uniques, which is pretty sweet. So you can farm Eldritch and you can farm Shank when these happen. And it's pretty decent EXP, just simply leaving, joining, killing Shank, leaving, joining, killing Shank, or leaving, joining, killing Eldritch, leaving, joining, killing Eldritch. It's not bad since he's level 99, and you get pretty decent loot from him too. Glacial Trail, Crystalline Passage, Frozen River, these are all pretty much the same. Frozen River is full of gloams half the time, so it's not really a good farm. But Glacial Trail and Crystalline Passage are decent. Nice density, not as good as some of the other zones, but they're decent. Ariat Plateau has the same issues as Frigid Highlands and Bloody Foothills. Pretty terrible. You can, however, farm, what's-his-face, Thrush Socket from Ariat Plateau, which is pretty nice. We also have Neelithek's Temple, Halls of Anguish, Halls of Pain, Halls of Vaunt. This is actually a pretty good one because you can do Pendle. The entire Neelithek Temple is pretty nice, good density, lots of monsters in there to kill, and of course you can also farm your D keys from Neelithek at the end, which is pretty nice. Ancient Way and Icy Cellar is pretty much the same as Glacial Trail, and it's not really much different. Icy Cellar also sometimes has gloams in it, so do be careful. Worldstone Keep, Throne of Destruction, Worldstone Chamber. This one is absolutely amazing. Whenever this one pops up, we farm the crap out of Worldstone. It's not even so much Bale, because Bale doesn't even give that good EXP compared to the rest of everything that's in Worldstone and Throne of Destruction. We literally just farm everything. We'll farm level 2, level 3, and then farm level 4, and Throne of Destruction. And then we kill all the waves, and then sometimes we don't even kill Bale, because Bale is kind of garbage EXP compared to the rest of the rest of the zone at level 99. But essentially, once you have your terror zone or the ability to make terror zones and you want to go to your terror zone, it changes every hour. So on the hour, every hour, it changes. Right now, if you type in /terrorized, you can see which zone is currently on the list. So we're currently Spider Forest and Spider Cavern. So if I go to Spider Forest, makes a nice little sound effect. Voila, we're in the zone. You can also tell you're in the zone by looking at the monsters. So Arachnid Lair is not part of the list. So if we were to go in here and take a look at one of the monsters in Arachnid Lair, you notice they just have regular names. They just say Poison Spinner. However, if we find a monster that's in the terror zone and we take a look at him, you'll notice that he has a special Diablo sort of symbol by his name. So you notice the fetish has these little Diablo symbols on the left and the right of their name, which indicates that they are, of course, terrorized. Now, what does terrorized mean exactly? Well, that is also listed in the patch notes. So if you guys haven't taken a look at what terrorized means, in the patch notes, it does specifically state what terrorized means for them. So as you can see here, it says in normal difficulty, all standard monsters are +2 of your player level up to a maximum of level 45. This means that when you are like anywhere close to level 45, so if you are at least level 43, you can get your level 45 monsters in normal difficulty. The champions will be +4 of your player level, so 47, and the uniques will be +5, which is 48. In nightmare difficulty, it goes all the way up to 71, and then of course 73 for the champions and 74 for the uniques. And then in hell difficulty, it goes up to 96. So right now I'm level 94, so +2 of me is level 96, and you can clearly see up at the top right-hand corner where it says terrorized 96, because my zone is currently level 96. Also, champions go up to level 98, and our unique monsters go up to level 99. So pretty sweet. Now, when you kill monsters in normal and nightmare difficulty, you cannot obtain the beautiful, beautiful Sunder charms. So the Sunder charms are only obtainable in hell difficulty. And only when you kill one of those unique monsters. So it has to be a champion, elite, or super unique monster, and there is a chance that it will drop you a Sunder Charm. Now, so far, the Sunder Charms have been very common. Let me just say that I've probably had about like 30 to 40 drop just for me. Like, just for me. I'm not even talking about in groups. And in groups, we've probably had another 30 to 40 drop. And, like, between everybody in the kinship and people that I've met, like, it definitely seems like they are extremely common. Now, the bone sunders, for some reason, are not as common as the others, the physical ones. So if you happen to find a physical one, especially a good physical one, you probably might want to hang on to it. Another thing is that these roll. So they roll between certain statistics. So you might want to keep your eyes on the fact that there are good ones and there are bad ones. So the resistances roll on the elemental ones between 70 to 90%. So 70 would be your perfect and 90 would be your anti-perfect. And that goes for all of the elemental ones, so poison, lightning, fire, and ice. The magic one, which is relatively unwanted, rolls between, I think it's 40 to 65 or something like that. It's not as great. And the physical Sunder, which is the which I don't have on me at the moment. I do not. The physical Sunder rolls between 10 to 35%, I think, or 10 to 30 physical damage increase. So what that means is you actually take more physical damage. Don't let that be confused with some people are trying to convince themselves that it means that they're dishing out more damage. You're not dishing out more damage. You're taking more damage. You are physically taking more damage when a monster hits you for having that physical Sunder Charm in your inventory. Now, you can cancel it out with physical damage reduction equipment. Like, for instance, I'm wearing a Crown of Ages right now, which has a physical damage received reduce of 10%. If I were to put the Sunder Charm on that had a physical damage increased of 10%, I would cancel that out and I would return back to 0. So remember that. Really not a lot more to go over. They're not very valuable anymore, so I wouldn't pay too much for them. The cold ruptures tend to be one of the most popular ones, of course, because of the cold mastery on the sorceress. But even then, like, I wouldn't pay more than an Ist rune for any of them. Not even a perfect one. Even if somebody had a 70% perfect, I probably wouldn't give them higher than an Ist rune for it. And if it's an anti-perfect, if it's something like an 87 poison or something like that, a Lem rune, maybe a Ko rune, you're lucky. I'll give you a Lum, maybe. Don't overtrade for these things. They are so common right now that it's not even funny. I'm like, I understand that some of you guys are just excited to get your hands on one, and having that cold one can certainly make your sorceress very powerful, but they're not that hard to get. All right, just have a little bit of patience and try and trade one. You can easily get one for, like I said, like a Lem or a Ko rune. That's pretty much it for the terror for these particular Sunder charms. And I think that's pretty much it. This video is way too long already. As always, thanks for watching, and keep watching.